All right, let's dive straight into deconstructing AQA GCSE History Paper 1, Question 1, using the American Civil War as our battleground.
This specific question, it's worth exactly 4 marks. And our goal today is to give you the absolute rock-solid formula to bag every single one of those marks without wasting a second of your time in the exam hall.
So, here's how the challenge actually appears on your paper. It asks, how does Interpretation B differ from Interpretation A about the American Civil War? And there's a really key instruction right beneath that. You need to explain your answer based only on what it says in Interpretations A and B. The mechanics here are super simple. The examiner literally just wants you to find the difference based purely on the content. Think of it like a game of spot the difference, but you're strictly using the ideas and claims right there in front of you. Don't bring in outside knowledge for this one. Okay, let's gather our evidence, starting with Interpretation A. This is an 1878 speech by Frederick Douglass, a former slave who became a leading abolitionist. Notice the absolute power in his words here. He says, "The American Civil War was fought over the issue of slavery. The North believed in human rights and freedom. In the South, there was an illegal government based only on the rights of the strongest. The Civil War was started by clever speechmakers and traitors in the South who decided to break up the United States. The South is to blame for its own suffering in the war, and the North won because it had right on its side." So, what's the crucial takeaway here? Well, Douglass is arguing that the conflict was fundamentally about slavery. He is entirely blaming the South and attributing the North's victory to moral superiority. He leaves absolutely zero room for doubt. The South had an illegal government, Southern traitors started the whole thing, and the North won because they were morally right. Now, let's pivot and look at Interpretation B. This is an account written in 1912 by Jubal Early, who is actually a former Confederate general. Just listen to how wildly different this perspective is. He writes, "The South fought the Civil War for the right to govern itself. Slavery was just an excuse used by the North to justify the conflict. The war was started by the government in Washington, which was dominated by fanatics who stirred up the people of the North against the South. The people in the North kept a 4-year conflict going against the Confederate States. The South lost because of the tremendous odds against it." Did you catch that sharp shift in the narrative? Early explicitly rejects slavery as the cause, literally dismissing it as just an excuse. Instead, he flips the blame entirely, pointing the finger straight at Washington fanatics for starting the conflict. And when it comes to the outcome, he completely ignores any idea of moral superiority, claiming the South lost purely due to the tremendous odds against them. And this brilliantly illustrates our path to the perfect answer. If you put them head-to-head, the differences are absolutely glaring. Honestly, any one of these paired contrasts is your golden ticket to answering this question. Now, to secure those full marks, we can't just basically point and say, hey, look, a difference. The mark scheme wants to see Level 2 developed analysis with extended reasoning. So let's look at exactly what that top-level reasoning looks like in practice on a real exam paper. Here is your perfect top-level sample answer. The interpretations differ about the reasons why the North won the American Civil War. In Interpretation B, the South lost because the North was more powerful and better equipped. However, in contrast, in Interpretation A, the reason given is because the North had right on its side. Notice the connective tissue there? However, in contrast, that right there is your extended reasoning. It's tight, it's entirely evidence-based, and it directly answers the question using only the provided content. Mastering this simple structural trick, it practically guarantees you those 4 marks every single time. But it also leaves you with a much bigger question to take into your exam. If 2 people can look at the exact same war and see 2 completely different realities, how much of history is really just deciding who tells the best story? Good luck out there.